Hello, everyone. I'm back with Daniel. He's doing a follow-up. A lot's been going on with him since the last time he done an interview. He gets V2K like myself. Uh, also, thanks for the two people who did donate. It always helps out, although I don't like asking, but I do ask if I actually need it. Also, one more thing is I got an email saying somebody on Awake Nation said that Trump stopped 700 systems, and he answered somebody's letter saying he's going to stop this program. Just beware of the psyops now, because if all these TI advocates start saying, "Oh, Trump stopped the program," and
Yeah,
all these Trump supporters feel like their targeting just all of a sudden stops, and then what do we do then about the ones who are still getting targeted? Because I don't think this is going to end. This is a grid that's going to be rolled out on the whole world. So why would they stop it now? They might, So anyway, that's just my opinion. So if you know, I'm just afraid that this might be a train wreck in progress, because if he says he stopped targeting, some people are going to believe that. And then if you say if you're still experiencing targeting and you start speaking out, what are they going to tell you? Oh, that's not possible. Trump stopped targeting. So just watch out for that psyops. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Daniel now. He's really been going through it. He gets heavy V2K and they're doing all kinds of psyops on him. Um, so anyway, Daniel, you can go on. I'll ask questions as we go.
yeah. So a lot of shit has changed since the last time I was on here. They ramped up my V2K like nothing else, man. Um, I don't. This is going to be exceptionally hard to explain, but for a while they were saying eat. That's what they were telling me. Eat, just eat, and then it became eat up, and it became eat it all, and it was just constantly about eating. And I don't know what the fuck happened, but I was sleeping like 13 hours a day. Uh I had okay, so this is the hardest part. Um there's two main people on my V2K. I call them Lillian, which is a man, African American male, very deep voice, and Biscuit, which is a female, very petite sounding.
Now, are these voices of people you know?
No,
Okay.
I do not know these fucking people. Um, but uh, I had to check myself into a psychiatric place because I thought maybe medication might be able to help. Because suddenly I started getting heart palpitations. I started getting extreme anxiety. Um, like, and this isn't like mental health anxiety. It was on command. They would literally say, eat up. And suddenly I would just start like fucking, my heart would just start racing. And I had to stop reading the Bible because every time I read the Bible, I would get punished. Um, which is the hardest fucking thing I can possibly tell you. That it's the most sick shit I've ever heard is someone taking away your religious beliefs. But they didn't take them away. Trust me. I'm still a Christian. They can kiss my ass. But they would when I was in the mental health place, suddenly the guy it stopped being just those words. It and started actually being full sentences. The person was like, okay, all of this is because of what you did to your ex-girlfriend. And I'm like trying to figure out what the fuck I did to my ex-girlfriend. I'm like, what the hell did I do? Like, I was an asshole. I know that, but I didn't do anything bad, like seriously bad. And then they started telling me lies. They started and that I was a pedophile and that freaking uh I'm gonna murder people and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he goes, and when you're in prison, I'm gonna be the one working there. And I'm gonna throw your ass in a hole if you even say one word to me for 30 days at a time and all this shit. And I'm like, I'm scared out of my fucking mind. Like literally crying and shit. And these people are looking at me like I'm fucking insane. And I mean, what are you gonna say? You know, I'm being attacked with RF weaponry. People people look at you like you're fucking talking Star Trek, man. This is not possible. I've got fucking okay, so let's just continue the story. I was inside and suddenly he goes, now one of these days you're gonna wake up and you're gonna say, what did you do? And I'm gonna and that's what I'm supposed to say. I'm gonna wake up one day and I'm gonna be like, what did I do? Like these fucking Manchurian candidates that you see. And I'm like, dude, fuck that. I'm not gonna be no Manchurian candidate. But I will tell you this. Um, he would go, eat up, and I would go like this. I would go instantly. It's subliminal messaging, man. They have been subliminally messaging, like programming me in my sleep. And he would go, okay, so you don't want to listen? And he would hit me with the my head would start hurting and I could
Yeah.
feel my memories going away. I can't remember a bunch of shit now. Like a bunch of stuff is gone out of my life. Like shit I've seen. Okay, so like I'm a huge Star Trek fan, right? I brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine is my favorite show. And I was fighting them. I'm like, fuck you, you're not taking away my memories. And I'm saying this in my mind, of course, because they can read your fucking thoughts. And that's more Star Trek shit, I guess, because people don't believe that that's possible, even though there's videos of it, of AI reading people's thoughts. Um, they can read your thoughts before you have them. It takes about 1.4 nanoseconds for you to form a thought. And then for that thought to become internal dialogue, it takes another few nanoseconds. So when you have a thought, before you even have the internal dialogue of that thought, they know what you're thinking. They already know it. And so what they did to me, and they've like I don't hear V2K very much anymore, which scares the shit out of me because that means that they're doing it subliminally now. I've had personality changes. I'm drinking now. I didn't drink. I didn't do any drugs or anything. But now I'm drinking and I'm doing drugs and shit. And
Yeah, and that's
fucking
probably why the V2K has dissipated a little bit. I want to read something real quick because it says right here. I was just reading this because I when you didn't show up at first, I started doing a video on Project Soul Catcher Part 13.
yeah.
And it says to defeat. It says right here. Duncan says method to defeat biometrics. And this part it says brain signatures. The method to defeat brain signatures is drugs, hypnosis, split personalities, and induced cerebral cortex personality stimulations. So, drugs and alcohol will work. It's throwing this off some. I don't advise it um, at all. But, when you're going crazy, you have to do what you got to do, I guess. But, I know where you're at. I was freaked out from 2015 to 2018. I was hearing all this stuff going through it, and I didn't know nothing about no TI program or nothing. And it's scary because, I just hope that you continue trying to read the Bible. You know, I know that. Have you tried reading the Bible since they slacked off on the V2K?
When I read, I forget the sentence I just read
Right.
instantly. Like I don't even know if the words that are coming out of my mouth are my own because for a long time they were every word I said they would say, and they were either pretending or they were actually programming me to say shit. and freaking so it would be like what I'm saying right now. In my mind, I could hear them, and it would be everything I just said, and then at the end it would go eat up.
Yeah, see, I
Fuck.
my girlfriend hated smoke, wouldn't even go in her mom's house because it smelled like smoke. And her V2K started telling her, smoke, smoke, smoke. She found herself stopping and getting a pack of cigarettes, and she's been smoking ever since.
Dude, they can program you, man. Now, it scares the fuck out of me because I'm like, dude, what can they have? I woke up in the middle of the night and my arm went like this and came down. I was like, what the fuck is that? And freaking, it was not me.
Right,
And I'm like, dude, are they fucking like, am I NPC now? Is that what it is? Like, are these people playing me like a video game?
right. What they were trying
And
to do when they told you that about your girlfriend, what I think they were trying to do is they they were trying to erase a memory and put a false memory in there and make you believe that you really had a girlfriend and you really done that to her and all that. And I hope you didn't believe it or fall for it. But they were trying to, because they try to plant stuff in your head, and make you think it.
it's like, they told me that I raped her. And then they had her come in like she was going into an office and talking to them. And she was telling all these stories. Some of them were true. Like one there I cheated on her. And freaking I it's a difficult situation to explain because we weren't really together. We were kind of fuck buddies. Um but freaking I definitely was an asshole to her. But then they were trying to say in her voice, she was saying that I raped her. I'm like, dude, I didn't fucking rape nobody. You got me fucked up. I don't care what they're trying to program. I've never done anything like that in my entire life. I've been exceptionally proud of the fact that I haven't been a like serious criminal in my life. I've been an asshole. Don't get me wrong. I can be a super dick, and I have felt. I think one of the reasons they chose her is because I felt bad about the way I treated her for years. It's been 17, 18 years since I was with her. Fucking,
Now,
I was living in Louisiana at the time. That's a long time ago, dude. Fucking, but I felt
what part
bad
of
about it.
Louisiana?
What's that?
What part of Louisiana?
Lake Charles.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. We had that discussion. Yeah,
Yeah.
I stayed in St. Landry for a while, so
So according to them, okay, I ended up at the very end of our relationship, we got a payday loan for $400 and she gave it to me. And fucking, I ended up skipping out of town. Like I just left because my life was going to shit at that time. Um, but I ended up not paying her. And she sent me a message saying, hey, I need that money because I'm going to go see my brother graduate from basic training. So I've had this idea in my head for years that her brother went special forces and fucking that's how all this is happening. I had that in my mind before any of this started. Like I was thinking, oh man, what happens if that fool went special forces or some shit? He comes after me. I was like, fuck. I felt bad about that forever. I was going to try to pay her back, all this other stuff, but life happens, man. I fucking at that time in my life, dude, I was a fucking fucked up drug addict, alcoholic, like really bad. And I tried getting clean and sober for years, and I finally did. But now I'm thinking, was it even me? Was it even me
well,
who
I,
got
I
clean and
can tell you
sober?
that if the dude was in special forces, he definitely had the power to put you in this experimental program. I'm not going to say it's him, but he definitely had the power.
Yeah, so I
Can
don't
I
know
ask
if
you
I,
a question? Is it helping to leave some of that using?
what's that? The drinking and alcohol stuff.
And I'm
Um,
not saying for people to do it at all. I'm just curious because Duncan
uh,
says that
There
it
it is.
messes up the frequency. It messes up the brain, how your brain receives the frequency, so it can calm some of it down. I don't know if that's true or not.
I sit here, right? I don't want to drink.
Right.
This is the thing I'm trying to. Okay, so
But you have
there's a
to keep your sanity, right?
no. It's
No?
not even that. It's a uh. They're focusing on my vices. So just like you said with Holly, right? With the smoke, smoke, smoke. In my mind, suddenly I'll be like, man, it'd be good to have a drink. Let's drink, 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 drink. And that's all I think about suddenly. I'll be I can't think of anything else. And then I'm like, next thing you know, I'm in the truck on my way to get some alcohol. I don't remember getting in the fucking truck. Um,
Because when
I've
I
had
when I have a few drinks, it does curb the my voice to skull a little bit. You know, it lightens it up a lot. But
mind games.
huh?
I don't I don't think it cures anything.
Not
I
cures. I
think
said
no, no, no.
curb.
I
Like
don't
it,
think it
it
does that
lightens
either.
it for me.
No, okay, so you know what I think it is? They're rewarding you. They're rewarding you.
It
They
could
they
be.
they literally stop on purpose. You know that Look Out for Charlie guy, right? He's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I I watched his videos religiously, and I even got potassium iodide. I started doing his Morgellons cure, but I could never fully do it. Every time I'd try to take an Epsom salt bath or something, they would fucking hit me with V2K. Bam, just fucking really bad. And they would make it seem like it was making it worse. Anything that I tried to do to try to curb this shit, like actively positive in any way, they would fucking just demolish me. And
The
when I
only
mean
thing,
demolish, I
the
mean
only,
I
go
what's
ahead.
that?
Go
Oh, I
ahead.
was gonna say I can't even have my own fucking thoughts. All I hear is the V2K. I don't form internal monologue anymore. In my head, it's just empty. There's nothing there. Like I'm trying to, yeah, I can't. There used to be a constant stream of internal monologue in my head. I don't know if you have that naturally or not, but I started noticing it because they made me notice. They told me I wasn't going to be able to think anymore. They told me I was going to be a fucking like an automaton. And then they were going to say some command and I'm going to just wake up and everything's going to go back to normal. But by then, it's going to be fucked up.
Yeah, it's
So,
constant interrogation, constant trying to convince you of stuff. Uh, they are always threatening me and telling me I'm going to die if I do an interview with such and such. They hadn't do this so much, so more lately, but they're always saying something like right now they're calling me stupid. It's just all they just do this to aggravate me right now because I've been doing this since 2015. I used to really react to it, um, and they even, they had me walking this line thinking I was going to blow up and I was right off the interstate in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm walking a line like this. I got my arms out, and then for some reason they said you're safe now, and then they said over here, and I walked and looked behind this bush, and they said, ha ha, we're not there, So I don't, so right now I do a good job at trying just to ignore it all and act like it don't exist. But I do a lot of multitasking, control breathing, handpan music. Um, it seems like the longer you got it, the more you learn to deal with it. You're just now starting, right?
no, I've had V2K and didn't know it for a long time. When I had an apartment, which they forced me out of, um, which called, I used to hear people like the neighbors, and they would be laughing at me and stuff like that. I didn't realize at the time that was V2K. I had no idea. So I'm looking at my neighbors like they're fucking dicks. and they don't know what's going on. Probably,
Yeah, and is
I've
there
heard,
voices you heard?
yeah,
Yeah, because they can take what they did was the NSA's got all these voice clips, so they got everybody's voice. So, they use my ex-wife's voice, they use my sister's voice sometimes. That's the two voices that I know that they use.
that scares the shit out of me because my mind, I start thinking of all the possibilities. And you remember how I told you I was a Star Trek fan, right? I was
Yeah.
like, what happens if they start using like William Shatner's voice or something? And fucking like they start making me hate shit that I love. You know, um, so I was talking about that Lookout for Charlie guy, right? Um, I think that he's right, but I think he's also wrong.
Yeah, I
Um,
disagree when he said gang stalking's not real and all that stuff. That's when I
he never
stopped listening
he
to him.
never said that, and he came out and he ta- I've watched every one of his videos.
Okay, the one I seen, he did say that, but
Yeah, he talks about how they're different. See, when he says that gang stalking is not real, I understand what he's talking about. Look at it from this standpoint. What if they're able to put subliminal messages in everyone's head? Everyone.
they
So
are.
like, okay, so when you're driving down the street and somebody flashes their headlights at you and you've done nothing wrong, your headlights are on, there's no reason for it. But they start what do they call it, brighting or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens if those people don't know they're doing it?
They're still stalking no matter what. You're
I
still
I and
experiencing
I
stalking.
totally understand that. Don't get me, dude. I'm going through it. Trust me. I know. When I say brighting, I've experienced it. I
And they
experience
do
it
that to
everywhere I
get
go,
reactions because every reaction they get goes to complete that cognitive model of your brain.
which is what I'm afraid of. But what happens if there's no fusion centers? I mean, there are, but you know what I'm saying? What happens if there's no group of people like goons walking around? What happens if there's no street theater? What happens if it's all subliminal messaging in random people's heads and these people don't even know they're doing it?
I definitely
You know,
could believe that's true because I get mobbed. Like the whole Denver airport mobbed me. I get, yeah. So I can I think that's really the case in most cases. Are
yeah.
there paid perps? I think there are, but most of it is subliminal, in my opinion.
So yeah, so like if you look at it like this, somebody start that street theater shit where they start talking about some shit that you just went through, and you're like sitting there and suddenly you're peaked. Your attention's on them. You're not focused on anybody else. So everybody else is acting normal, but these people have subliminal messages put in their head with V2K that they don't even know about because by the way, even though V2K is not going on, it's going on. That tinnitus that you're hearing, that is an AI and that is constantly sending information to you. I read Project Soul Catcher too. As soon as you started reading it, I read it. And
Yeah.
I read the whole thing from fucking front to back. And I read it a couple times. And everything that Robert Duncan says, and I hate fucking talking about him like he's Jesus or something, but because I think he might be a perp. But this is the thing. Everything he says about the human brain is like it's like a computer. Everything that he does is an analogy on computer shit. It's like malware and the different types of programming they can do. Well, it's all true. Like the brain can be programmed. So hypnotism, subliminal messaging. I looked it up, and this is another reason I know that they have full control over computers and shit. I started looking up hypnotism and how to reverse different subliminal messages and shit that they've put on you. Because like I said, when they go eat up, I go like this instantly. I can't control it. I instantly just like a fucking dog listening to a command. You know how dehumanizing it is? Anyway, freaking I start looking up hypnotism. Already it's purple, which means it's already been looked at. And so I click on it. I'm like, what the fuck? Because I haven't looked this up. And I look it up and it starts talking about hypnotism and the difference between hypnotism and MK Ultra programming. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not looking up MK Ultra shit right now. What the fuck? Why would that even be coming up in hypnotism? It's just it was the Wikipedia article. Then I go back to the Wikipedia article. It's totally different. Everything is different. It's just hypnotism, and the difference is between medical hypnotism and stage hypnotism and stuff like that. But before, it was talking about MK Ultra and programming in your sleep and shit like that. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? So either they can program you in your sleep or while you're awake or whenever, or they're trying to convince me that they can. And that's the fucking mind fuck of all this. Because that's one thing
Right.
I'm always trying to convince myself of. It's all mind games. Everything is a mind game. And I've always thought of myself as having at least an average mind. So I think to myself, I can beat this. And as soon as I get that confidence, that's when they fucking hit me. And they
Right.
start doing all these mind games on me. Like,
Listen, I think there's definitely paid perps. But like you said, I don't think they're all paid. I think they're subliminal. Duncan, matter of fact, I was reading this when you messaged me and said you could do the interview. It's about voice to God. It said in the study of cybernetics, the brain can act like a digital receiver device with unique resonant circuits. This allows for individual human control in addition to creating necessary feedback loops of mutual adaptation between the control signal and the plant, an engineering term meaning the system be controlled. Discussion of transformation to an abstract, well, never mind. It allows the human experiences recorded from one person to be played onto another, altering their personalities or playing stimuli. So, so your brain can be a receiver for anything. So, you know, I really think that um, it's very easy to do. For instance, it says in Desert Storm, the U.S. had all the numbers of the Iraqi commanders and voice samples. They spoofed orders to subordinates to make their troops go in the wrong direction and hopefully fire on each other.
that's so fucked. I was in the military. And the one of the first things they say to you in the military is we don't want mindless soldiers. We want soldiers who think for themselves. But we want you to follow orders. But we want you not to just follow orders blindly. That kind of shit is fucked up. I mean,
Could you
I
kind of watch the
remember.
cussing a little bit?
Oh, sorry about that. Hold on. You remember they were? Do you remember Desert Storm at all?
Yeah.
You were probably young. I was too. But I remember they were talking about the elite Republican Guard and how Iraq had the fourth largest army in the world and that we were going to be going through hell. We lost 79 guys. They lost 150,000 people.
Yeah.
And we carpet bombed them and did all this stuff. But then suddenly we see these elite Republican Guard, supposedly the best of the best, trained in every way, just giving their guns to American soldiers, just giving up. And we were told it was because they were starving to death. Then I start going through this and I open up the whole can of worms on that V2K shit and voice to God weaponry, which it should be called voice of Satan, not voice of God. Because even in Project Soulcatcher, they call it Satan. They call it the Satan system. Um, I think that they didn't give up because of that. That's one of the clips that Look Out for Charlie plays all the time. This guy's talking about V2K weaponry. He says we can plant biblical verses in terrorist minds if we want. And people start laughing. He goes, yeah, it's funny, but it's true. And freaking, he goes, we can make it seem like the enemy is coming over the hill when they're actually coming through the valley.
Right.
You know,
Man, I watched a clip yesterday of this guard who, or this dude who was in the military who said that Saddam Hussein finally called the people and said, look, tell George Bush I want to surrender. George Bush said no surrender. And they went in and just finished it off.
no, So you know the whole story behind that, right? Freaking
I heard they were looking for well, I don't want to get into it on my show because people's gonna think we're crazy, but I heard that Iraq had some kind of Stargate and they were really trying to get that to dismantle it. Now I don't
I
know if
don't
that's
know.
true, but that's what I've heard. And what's weird is before I even read about this, some dude was in Iraq and he worked with me at the chicken plant, and he said, "Look, dude, you know why we were in Iraq?" He said he was actually in Saddam's house looking for him and all that, and they had the gold. He had gold heads in his swimming pool. He's like, "You know why we were actually over there?" And he told me that about the Stargate, and I'm like, "This dude is nuts." Well, years later, I read about them theories and other soldiers saying it, so I don't know if that's true or not, but
No, I don't know about any of that. That's the first I've heard of it. What I do know, and this is in history books, Saddam Hussein tried to kill President George H.W. Bush. He caused a terrorist explosion on a boat, I believe, and it was in the attempt to kill the president of the United States. When that happened, well, let's just say President Bush didn't take it very lightly.
right.
And after that, they went in. Now, just our army alone is people don't understand. I was, like I said, I was in the military. I was just a cook. I didn't go to war. I didn't do any of that. But I can tell you what we have. I was attached to an air cav unit. You know, our Apache helicopters have optical targeting. That means wherever your pupil looks, the gun points. So as fast as I can look at you, you're dead. That's the kind of technology and weaponry we have. Now you add V2K and shit on top of that. What? I mean, there's no military on this earth that could stop us with just our regular military. But if you add the V2K on top of it, there's no winning. I mean,
Unless Russia was to fire their intercontinental ballistic nuclear weapons at us. There's a
I mean,
nuclear superpower.
unless we just started attacking him with V2K, Putin. I
And
mean,
I've always wondered about that. We're going to end up having to do something because Putin didn't accept Trump's offer, so it's going to come
well,
down to something eventually.
I'm still thinking that this is a new thought for me. Is that everyone is being controlled? They're all pawns. It's all part because all of this V2K weaponry, all this stuff was made by Raytheon and the military industrial complex. The DARPA, you know, Robert Duncan talks about it, how he worked for DARPA and how he worked for the CIA and stuff like that, which I'm sure is all true. Um, DARPA is known for creating some of the worst weaponry that's ever been created. Uh, I think of DARPA like the Legion of Doom from the old comic books. These are nerds that just think about ways to kill people. So I'm thinking that all of this, when President was it Eisenhower or I think it was I can't remember now, but the president talked about the military industrial complex and how it was going to take over the world and how we needed to make sure that didn't happen. It was after World War II. It was his basically his going away speech, and he talked about that. He talked about the pharmaceutical industrial complex and how that was going to take over, which it has. Everything he said happened. Um, and if the military industrial complex is in charge, like I think they are, then that means that no one is doing what they're supposed to be doing. There is no free thought anymore. I think the grid's been rolled out. I think it's already done. Like it's finished. It's already happened. Because if you think about the level of targeted individuals that have come out and people still don't believe,
Right.
there are 6 million of us, 6 million, and people still don't believe. They think it's delirium. They think it's all in our heads. They have no clue that this stuff is real. But I don't think it's that. Because, when I try to bring this stuff up and I bring receipts when I try to prove this to people, I show videos, I show every single thing. I'm talking about news videos, shit that they should believe because they believe in the media. Freaking, I'll bring this out and people look at me like, yeah, man, you need to get help. Like, it's
Right.
just no matter what, it doesn't matter if they're the closest people in my life or if they're random individuals.
It's like their
They
mind
all
can't
have
fathom it.
the same reaction. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't pan out. How could that be possible that no one believes? No one? That makes no sense. There should be at least one outlier. One person who goes, "Hey man, that maybe." There's always that one conspiracy
Which is
theorist dude.
why I think some of us are targeted. Some people, a lot of people are targeted because somebody higher up just wanted to put them on the list. But I really think there's some that were picked for experimental purposes. And if I'm going to go picking out people for experimental purposes, I want to pick out the least likely person to be receptive to mind control because I want to see if my technology is going to work on them. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to pick out somebody whose mind is going to be easily manipulated. I'm going to see if my technology can get the people who's got strong minds.
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
I
and
mean,
then
I
that
think
Trump thing. Do you think this ends? Do you think he's going to end it?
I don't, dude. If he was going to end it, he would have ended it his first term.
I mean, look who's backing him up. The one who wants to put Neuralink in everybody. Elon.
Yeah, the one that supposedly doesn't know this exists.
Yeah.
One of the smartest guys on earth. Right.
Yeah. And you
Um.
heard what Trump said, a $500 billion AI infrastructure is what he's proposing. He wants to put in place, but he's going to stop targeting. Okay. Oh, what they
Yeah,
don't
Trump put
understand
out.
is Trump might do for the people what he said he's going to do. Well, I'm not talking about targeting. I'm talking about this, no tax and all that, and give the people what they want. But at the same time, he's got to back himself up to the promises he made with the people with the money who's backing him. You see, you got to follow the money. He's got to do for them too. So he's got to make it look good to the people and at the same time satisfy them too, people with the money.
Throughout history in human civilization, there's always been a feudal structure. Always. We call ourselves a democracy. That's a joke. That is an absolute joke. We have in this country the political elite, and then we have the corporate aristocracy, the people who are really in charge. Some people call it the deep state. Some people call it the Illuminati.
I call
Whatever
it the
stupid.
money.
That's exactly what it is, and that's what it's always been. It's been that way. The king was always the richest person. The emperor always had the most. Um, and our corporate aristocracy has the most on Earth right now. In fact, if you look at Elon Musk, for instance, look at how much money that guy has. He has
452 billion.
that is so ridiculous. And you know where that money came from, right? Us. That's why we're struggling. But he's got it all in the bank. Him and thousands of others that are super billionaires.
Yep.
These people, these people are the ones who are really running things. We look at the president, like the president has power. The president doesn't have any power. The president gets told what to do. There was a comedian. His name is Bill Hicks. You ever heard of him?
Uh-uh. I mean, I
Look him
might
up.
have, but his name don't ring a bell offhand.
Look him up. I'm starting to think that they gave him his pancreatic cancer. But um, Bill Hicks was a political comedian, and he was what's called the comedian's comedian, because when he came out, every comedian wanted to be like him. Now, he said, "You know what I think? When a president gets elected, they take him to a room, and it's dark, and there's just one chair, and there's a screen on the wall, and they say there's a bunch of fat old men smoking cigars, and they say sit down, and he sits down, and all of a sudden on the screen, the Zapruder film plays. The Kennedy assassination,
Hmm.
but it plays from a different angle than anyone's ever seen before, an angle that has never been seen. In fact, like they filmed it, and then the lights come up, and they look at him and they go, "Any questions?" That to me is what I think happens. You ever notice how presidents go in and they look young, and then by the end of it, they look old? I mean,
Yeah.
Obama went in looking like he was 30, and he came out looking like he was 70.
And
Um,
I think, on the Trump thing again, I think he's going to do what he said. Well, he never said he was going to end target. I'm just saying, I think like he was in North Carolina yesterday. He's moving them people from tents and putting them in apartments, and he promised to rebuild their houses. Then he went to California and he's helping them people out. He's got to give the people what he promised, but he also has to do what the people the money say too. So that it's a two-way table. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And people
Um,
just don't believe that. They think that he's just going to come in and stop everything. There's certain things he has to go along with.
no, they think they think that because he's rich, like every president in history hasn't been rich, but they think because he has his own money that he doesn't have to follow money interest. They're dumb. It's I hate to say that, but it's just every president in our history has been rich. In fact, richer than Trump, a lot of them. So, I mean, look at Obama. He went to fucking Harvard. Excuse my language. He went to Harvard. Every president goes to some Ivy League school. You remember whenever you were a kid, they probably said this to you too, because they said it to me. They said, even you could be president. And I remember being a kid thinking, that's not true. Because I'm not like those guys. Like those guys are rich, they're elite. I'm
Right.
not. I didn't grow up like that. I grew up poor. So they like putting
And if
little.
y'all, hey, and if y'all are watching this saying, "Well, Trump just might do it," well, he might do it, and I'll say I'm wrong if he does it. I'm just telling you my opinion on things. I'm not downing nobody who believes in Trump or nothing like that. I'm just telling you my opinion.
Nah, man. I believed in Trump all the way until he got elected. Um, as soon as he got elected, that's whenever I realized I was like, if they didn't want him to be elected, he wouldn't have been elected.
Right.
And
I would
so
believe in Trump more if Elon wasn't his right-hand man. But that's the
yeah,
AI king you got going out. And they're already
before
talking about building more supercomputers. Hmm.
oh god, before all this started with me, I actually was a huge Elon Musk fan. You know, uh, I still got respect for the guy. You know, um, but like I said, there's no way he's that dumb to where he thinks you need to put a microchip in your head to be able to cause thoughts and all this other stuff. It doesn't make sense. He's supposedly one of the smartest guys who's ever lived. I mean, if that's true, and he's as powerful as he is, then he knows about this stuff.
Yep.
So there's no doubt in my mind anybody with any kind of power knows about this.
And if we were the beta test for it to be rolled out on humanity, why would they stop?
I
You
don't
know?
think we're the beta test anymore. I think it's already been rolled out, man.
Oh yeah.
I
What I'm
think it's
saying
done.
is it's just going to be almost impossible to stop, in my opinion.
You know, Robert Duncan said in his books, they're 60 years in advance in technology to any civilian. 60 years. Do you realize how long that is? 60 years from now, what are we even going to have? Like what kind of technology is there going to be? We're probably not even going to have phones. It's all going to be integrated into our system. They've been talking about G6 is going to be powered by humans. Um, that's something else I saw on Lookout for Charlie's channel. He brought that up.
Oh, 6G's already out too. Man, I wish I could let me see if I can upload this to the drive. I was looking at these router capabilities and um you know the router we have the capabilities and we have 6G and I can prove it. Uh but go ahead and talk while I'm getting it why because I gotta find it and upload it to the drive to show y'all.
So supposedly, a lot of this is done through Morgellons. through a fungal. It's a fungal microchip system that creates dirty boards in people's systems. Um,
Sprayed
supposedly
through
that's
chemtrails, smart dust, etc.
yes. That's what I've heard. Yeah, the craziest thing about all this, man, it's all mind games. All that could be fake. Everything we've learned could be fake. Um, but
Exactly.
it also could be very real. See, I have this idea in my head that the guys who run this stuff, they like to put the answer right in front of you and then have you not be able to see it. It's
Yep.
a joke. Like for instance, with David Berkowitz. You remember the Son of Sam killer?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He called himself the Son of Sam. Supposedly it was because his neighbor's dog was named Sam and Sam was Satan. But the truth is, he was the son of Uncle Sam. It's an inside joke. He was the son of Uncle Sam because Uncle Sam created him.
You see
They
that
created him.
with that black things around?
Yeah.
And that's when I looked up my router capabilities, 2 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz. 6G is already here. And then see X-Way Gateway, Infinity Gateway features and specs. 6G's here. It's right there in front of your eyes. But why haven't they told nobody it rolled out? Oh,
Right. Supposedly 6G is going to
it's
be powered
powered
through
by the human.
by humans, yes. Supposedly we're going to be like I hate to freaking say it, but like the Matrix. We're going to be like batteries and we're going to be the ones powering it. Uh you know, this is a thought I literally just had. What happens if it's not humans in charge of this? What happens if it's AI? Like, what if there's an advanced AI that's in charge of all this, and that's why it's so absolutely ruthless and heartless.
Well,
It
Brian too says the AI. Brian too says AI is running a lot of people's targeting.
it's crazy because my B2K sounds real. It sounds like actual people.
Yep.
When they actually talk to me, as opposed to just saying eat or eat up all the time. Um,
And they know what you're doing at all times, and they make comments about it. So it's got to be something. It's got to be some kind of advanced stuff. There's not an
but
operator sitting back saying, "Okay, he's eating. I'm going to make a comment about him eating and call him stupid for eating whatever." There's not nobody sitting back doing that. They ain't got that many operators.
so one thing I did notice is that my B2K voices, they're always the same, no matter what time it is. So either these people don't sleep or they're not real.
Right.
And if they're not real, they're far smarter than.
You froze up. They didn't like that. I'm gonna give them a chance to kind of get unstuck.
Or something like that. And
All
I'll be
right, you
like,
were stuck. You were froze. Could you repeat like the last minute?
oh yeah, I was gonna say, um, sometimes they'll call what I'm about to say. So before I even know I'm about to say it, this is how long they've been recording me and how long the whatever it is has been basically like mapping my mind. It knows what comfort words I use. So it'll say like sometimes I'll be like, yeah, eat up. And I'll be like, yeah, all that. And before I even say that, they'll go, yeah, all that.
Yeah.
And freaking, I'm like, it pisses me off because I'm like, dude, am I that predictable? But I guess people are creatures of habit. It's a comfort word. It's a way of coping with it.
I
And
want to
I
read this real quick, if you don't mind. It's what Brian 2 sent me yesterday because he knows I'm going through heavy V2K. He said V2K is utilizing mind control technologies to disrupt continuity of thought and erase active memory for cognitive containment. The cognitive researchers are not using microphones. When EEG heterodyne does happen and manually, then the hive mind teams are using augmented reality interfaces to target you, such as electronic brain to brain interface, brain to cloud interface, cognitive researchers use augmented reality to torture and kill target individuals. However, it's 95% mostly an AI supercomputer system of remote neural networks using chatterbox automated special language software programs for the V2K for repetition as torture. The V2K words and phrases you are hearing are usually taken from memory references captured from you during the silent monitoring period and will generally be used in your endless verbal harassment. V2K is used to disrupt continuity of thought and erase active memory.
So one of the reasons I think they chose Eat Up is because I used to say this all the time. I used to think that I was about to die. So I would go and cook myself a last meal. I'd go, yep, that's a fine last meal right there.
I've been
And
there.
you know what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah.
And freaking I did that and I don't know how many times I did that. You know, where I was like, yeah, because I'm a chef, well, I'm not a chef, but I'm a very good cook. And freaking I would cook myself like prime rib with Irish cream butter on it, you know, and potatoes and stuff, you know, and all kinds of really good stuff. And I think that's
Dude,
why they
I've been there many times. Thought the same. Well, I'm gonna die. I'm fixing to eat my best meal.
Yep.
And
See, it's crazy, man, because I think they know all this. Like whatever it is, if it's an AI or if it's actual people, like Robert Duncan says, because Robert Duncan says there's people who are actually acting out stuff.
yeah,
There's five of them, according to Project Soulcatcher. There's one who acts as a firewall. That way you can't get into their minds. And then there's four others that do random stuff, whether it's V2K or if it's going to be like having your arm jerk or whatever. Um, According to him, that's possible. But um, freaking whether it's an AI or whatever it is, damn, I lost my train of thought. I just got hit with another one. Freaking now my heart's going. Um, so getting back to what I was talking about with me, right? Um, you remember how the last time I did this interview with you, I was a lot more confident.
Mhm.
I'm not as confident anymore. Let me
Right.
tell you, dude, as soon as I checked myself in, let me tell you this, if you're a targeted individual, mental health facilities will not help you. They will not help.
Nope.
Medications can't help you. If they're causing palpitations and stuff like that, or they're causing you not to be able to sleep, you're just not going to be able to sleep. Let me tell you something. I've drank myself. I've drank to a point to where I should not be alive, and I still couldn't sleep.
Yeah, they can make it where the alcohol you can't even get drunk and enjoy it no more.
They can make once again. I got to bring him up like he's freaking Jesus. But Robert Duncan in Project Soulcatcher says that any type of poison or medication can be simulated in the mind with RF technology, and it's true, dude. I was hallucinating, and that's one thing I didn't bring up when I was in the mental health when I was in the mental health facility, because I thought my I wanted to go in there. I told them, do not let me out of here, and I want to be sedated. And I don't even know if that was my own words, because why would I want that? But I went in and they go, suddenly the command stopped being eat. It said, look, look. And I started looking, and there was these floating monster type things that were like they were invisible like the Predator. You know, like the movie Predator, like whenever he's invisible, you can kind of see him. It was
Does
like
Duncan
that.
talk about that in the book?
He talks about hallucinations. Yeah, they can cause hallucinations, and they were doing that with me, but I was totally lucid, and there was no like this wasn't like mushroom trip. This was I was completely sober, lucid, and I'm seeing shit. And they said at that point they go look, look, and I'm like, well, look at what? And then I see it, and this thing starts floating towards my leg and starts chewing on my leg, and I could feel it, and it didn't hurt, but I could feel tingling in my leg. like it was touching me. So I tried to grab it. I'm like, maybe it's one of those invisible things I've been hearing about, something like that. And of course, it's not. It's a hallucination. But that's the mind games.
Yeah.
They
I
wanted me to
remember
do
one
it.
time, and I don't even like admitting this, they made it sound like people were actually in the walls, and my V2K was saying they're fixing to come in and get you. You better get out of there. I actually busted open the wall, because I thought my V2K had me convinced, hey, they're coming to get you. So I was like, well, I'm gonna meet them head on, and nobody was there. And then they laughed
Yeah,
at me, you dumbass, you tore your wall up. What are you doing? I don't like
yeah,
admitting that because it's embarrassing, but hey, man,
don't be
it's
embarrassed.
what we go through.
Do not be embarrassed about anything that these people are doing to you. Never. Because that's not your fault, man. That none of this is any of our faults.
Now,
I
what
don't I
about
don't care.
stalking in street theater? They've been doing that to you too?
It stopped. I the most I'll get is headlights now.
So what are they doing to you now?
Okay, so the last street theater that happened with me was it was months ago. And what it was I got out of my apartment and I was like tripping because they were fucking with me hard. And I'm like, they're everywhere. They're after me. Because when I went outside of my apartment, there was a group of people there laughing at me. And I'm like, oh man. And the first thought I had in my mind was go kick their ass. And that was a first thought. And then my mind, I instantly go, no, do not do that. You're going to go to jail. Don't do it. And so I got into my truck and I started just cruising around and I put a camera on my dashboard. Well, I started recording and I started like just talking about everything that was going on. And I was recording every single bright headlight, everything, and all the ones who tried to swerve me off the road and all that stuff. Then I had to go use the bathroom. So I went to Safeway and I go into Safeway and suddenly this woman walks in front of me and she's laughing and she looks at me and she has this evil look on her face. And then she goes in, and right as I'm walking in, she points at me and starts whispering to one of the workers there. And she looks afraid. And I'm 6'5" and I look like a biker, dude. So like freaking I'm intimidating. So the first thought I had was this chick is trying to say I'm stalking her. So I calmly walked to the bathroom. I used the bathroom and I calmly walked right out. And that was the last street theater I can remember happening. And I went back to that Safeway and nothing. Like, there was no issues. Nobody said, "Hey, man, you were stalking some chick that I'd never seen before and never seen since." Nothing like that. So it was probably that was street theater. It was probably a mind game.
Yeah, there
Um,
was a period when I was in Florida where every time I'm telling you, no matter I could go in Walgreens, Shell, every time I walked in any store, everybody walked out the store like something was fixing to happen. Like real quick, got their stuff and just left. Some people left stuff on the counters, whatever they were buying, everybody would exit the store and I'm like, that tripped me out.
you know,
McDonald's, I could clear a McDonald's out by going in there and just asking for a water. Everybody would leave. It was theater
yeah,
to freak me out.
yeah. um, so you remember I was telling you about at my work, they it seemed to me that people were treating me differently and that maybe they had came and you know uh a smear campaign or something.
Yeah.
I told myself I don't care. I'm going to work anyway. Of course I'm not working now. I'm getting paid leave. But freaking I worked through it. And you know what happened? Nothing. They ended up being normal again. That's why I'm starting to think that there was no smear campaign. There never was. And I'm not saying that didn't happen to you. I'm not saying it didn't happen to anybody. I'm saying it
Right.
didn't happen to me. They wanted me to think it happened to me. So I would quit my job like I did the first time. And I didn't. I literally told my V2K, I said, fuck you. I'm keeping my job. Excuse my language. I told him that. I said, I don't care. I don't care what you told them. I'm going to keep my job. I don't care if they start spitting on me. I'm going to keep my job. And B2K basically didn't say anything.
Right. It's 99% lies. Every now and then they'll tell you some kind of truth to make you start believing them again. They
Yeah.
want to keep you thinking you're going to die at any time. They want to keep you in panic and fight or flight at all times,
Yes.
and have you scared to be in your own skin sometimes.
Oh, for real, man. All this knowledge of all this stuff, I would gladly give it away just to be
You
one of
know,
the
Duncan
regular.
says, uh, that's why, I read Project Showcatcher and How to Tame a Demon just to let people know the basics of all this. But even, Duncan said in How to Tame a Demon, um, and I can share a copy of that if you'd like with you.
Yeah.
But he says that there have been people defeat this by learning the ins and outs and the psychological operations being used against them, and they beat this. Now, I've never met anybody like that, but he claims that people have learned what was going on, learned the psychological, and found their way out of this.
I read even in Project Soulcatcher, they talk about Manchurian candidates who beat the system, and they were left alone afterwards. And I think it's just hopeful thinking
Right.
because you know this would be the last time I bring this guy up. Um, but you know that Morgellons cure from Look Out for Charlie, right?
Yeah.
I think that it worked for him. I think it 100% worked for him.
Yeah, we're all different. What works for him is not going to work for you.
No, but I don't think it actually worked for him. I think they made him think it worked for him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that
Which
way
is
he would
why
push.
you'll never hear me recommend shielding because that's what Duncan talks about too, nano tricks. So you'll get some shielding, or let's say I get some kind of a lead X-ray apron or whatever, and then my targeting stops. Well, I go tell all my friends, and they go spend all this money on this lead, and all they did was stop hitting me when I put it on. So I went and spread disinformation, and got people mad at me.
Yep. That's it. That's what it is, man. Like it's. I'm constantly repeating this to myself. It's all mind games. It's all mind
That's why
games.
it's called psychological operations.
Yeah. And you know, there's a show called Trailer Park Boys. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but there's a really dumb guy in the show. But he goes, sometimes you got to blame the thing up here because it's way smarter than I am. He's talking about his brain, and freaking, it's true. Your brain is you. It's literally you. So whatever your brain is thinking is you, and it is truth to you. So psyops, when they were first created, I think I'm sure it was back in the OSS days, back before the CIA was even created. But when they were first created, it was just war games. That's all it was for. But they realized how extremely powerful they are. Because in truth, psyops were created way, way back in the time of Sun Tzu, the art of war.
Art of war, yeah.
Yeah,
Check
that was
this
the
out.
first
Listen
psyop.
to this one. Brian too sent me this too. False flag events use a tactic called indirection. A false flag operations act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning on another party. I am a former U.S. DoD contractor and I've been to the border of Israel, and I can tell you that a grasshopper could not cross the Israeli border fence without Israeli artificial intelligence supercomputers picking up on it. So are we supposed to believe that 10,000 Palestinian terrorists were able to do so? It's called indirection. A terrorist attack was imminent and the Israeli Mossad knew about it and allowed it to happen in order to facilitate their goals of eradicating Hamas once and for all, just like the Americans did with 9/11 in order to turn America into a police state with this phony war on terrorism.
Yeah. Um, the you know the CIA and the NSA, they used to assassinate people. You can
Yeah.
ask Kennedy. President Kennedy was probably the last one they did. I mean, his not President Kennedy, but Robert Kennedy and President Kennedy. All those major assassinations that happened in the 60s, they were probably handled by the CIA. Um, so I think that they learned real quick that killing somebody doesn't work in their best interest. Because when they killed President Kennedy, we're still talking about him.
And
You know,
Trump signed an executive order to release it finally the other day. We'll see if it gets released.
so it won't. But if it does, it'll be redacted heavily,
Yeah.
heavily redacted.
Well, William
But
Cooper claims the driver shot him.
I know I've heard about that.
Behold a pale horse. That author claimed that's what happened.
Yeah, because okay, so that he wasn't the only one. There's a dude who does ballistics, and he said one of the this is the story they're putting out. One of the Secret Service the night before they all got heavily intoxicated. They were partying, and so they were all hungover. And when Oswald shot the first shot, the car jumped. Well, one of those Secret Servicemen had a brand new rifle. It's called an M16, and oh no, AR-15, and it had never been used before by these guys. And when the motorcade jerked forward, he got up and he accidentally pulled the trigger, and that's what exploded Kennedy's head, supposedly. It's very possible because that would be an incredible embarrassment that they would want to cover up. That the Secret Service killed Kennedy by accident during an assassination attempt. I
Right.
mean, I could see that. But I can also see that President Kennedy was talking right before his death, 7 days before he had that last speech where he was talking about the new world order and how there is a secret cabal that is trying to take over the government and that he was going to stop it. And then suddenly he's exploding all over the place. Like that to me makes
Right.
more sense.
And then they had
So
then they had to poison Marilyn Monroe too because she was sleeping with him secretly and he was a confident, huh, they had to clean
yeah,
up her too.
and the funniest thing about all this is that anybody who's a normal everyday average citizen hears us talking about this stuff, they're like, oh, those guys with their tinfoil hats. The most messed up part about that little statement, the tinfoil hat thing? The tinfoil hat was created by people who were desperate to stop V2K in the very beginning, whenever it was first happening. They were desperate, so they were putting anything on their head thinking it would work. And freaking, just like you probably did, just like I did when I
Oh
first,
yeah, I did. Well, I did it when I was trying to stop when they were heating my head up, and I made it in a baseball cap, and I formed about 10 layers of it. And you know what it did? It made my head heat up worse. It
yeah,
amplified it.
you can't stop this stuff because it's the same technology they use to contact submarines that are under sea. It's not stoppable. According once again, according to Robert Duncan, you can't stop this stuff because it goes through everything.
Just like
Um,
this person came. I was watching on this Telegram thing, and this doctor was saying nanotechnology cannot be discovered by a CAT scan or MRI. They cannot
I,
see it.
this is the funny thing. I'm about to go have an MRI because I have I've had personality changes and stuff like that, and I had a head injury at work, which is funny because it perfectly pans into any kind of plan they might have. But um,
Did they
I'm
cause the
gonna.
head injury?
It's possible.
Yeah, that way
Um,
they could say, well, he's got a head injury. Anything he says, you just can't.
the funniest thing about that is I used to be a pro wrestler when I was young. I was a professional wrestler. I had 13 concussions in 1 year. If they wanted to use the head injury thing, they could have just used that.
Well, yeah.
Say I have CTE or something, like easily. Uh, but freaking, I'm having an MRI, and all throughout this, all I'm thinking is it's gonna scan normal. I've had CT scans normal, every one. I had one of those EEG brain scans where they record
Yeah.
your your electrical pulses and stuff, and it came out. Excuse me, it came out normal.
We got 15 minutes if there's something you really want to talk about.
Yeah, but yeah, they all came out normal.
Wow.
Everything comes out normal. I go to the hospital because I've checked myself into the hospital several times because I'm like I'd have like these my blood pressure would skyrocket through the roof. And I have a blood pressure machine here that I test. And when it hits like 210 over 170, sometimes I should be dead. And then I'll go to the hospital, normal, all normal. They do that on
Well,
purpose to make you look crazy. And
mm-hmm.
freaking, I can, I record it on my phone, my test results, blood pressure test results, then pictures that go missing. They're not there anymore. So, like, I know, for instance, my phone is completely hacked. I stopped putting the tape over the camera. I don't care anymore. They know everything, so they know my deepest inner thoughts, which pisses me off. Yeah, it really does. You know, it's like there's no skeletons in my closet, not with these guys. Everything. Whenever, whenever I was at the mental health place and they were telling me all this crap about me supposedly doing horrible things to my ex girlfriend, I told them, I go, look into my mind. You can read my mind. You know this isn't real. This is not real. And then she just kept talking and putting these stories in my head that I supposedly did this and that. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I didn't do that stuff. And then one would be true, you know, and so I think they do that on purpose. Is that they put one that's true in there so you might think that the others are true too. But I know who I am, and I'm not that. And freaking what they're trying to say I am. And been the that's been the one thing that has gone throughout this whole targeting is these lies about who I am. And they even had me thinking, well, maybe there's something deep down that I don't know about, you know, in my psychology that, you know, maybe there's something there. And then I thought, I'm like, no, no, there's not. I'm not that. Screw you. You know, they're constantly saying these horrible things that are lies. And once again, that's just to keep me like just in a state of hopelessness and despair and constantly trying to figure out what they're doing. I've noticed if I'm not thinking about the V2K and stuff, they'll make me think about it.
Right.
So it's all about interaction. They want the interaction. And I keep saying they like it's people, which it very well can be. But
Now, on the Bible thing, when you said, well, I read a verse and don't remember it, I would still read Psalms out loud and still, plead covering myself with the blood of Jesus and still read the Bible.
no, you could, so I've got multiple religious texts. Uh, I fell back into religion during all this, of course. Um, but it got at first it was they would do the V2K to where that's all I could hear while I was reading. So I started reading out loud. And that way I could read. And then they would say stuff and I would be like, yeah, it is a good book. And I would be like, yeah, you're right, it is good. I would do that kind of mind game with them where I'm like, I would just act like they're saying, yeah, it's a good book. You know, that you should keep reading, even though that's not what they're saying. Um, then it got to the point to where they started hitting me, whether it's directed energy weapons or it's subliminal, but I start getting extreme anxiety now. Extreme anxiety. Like to where I want to just rip my skin off. Like just my heart just through my chest. And I've called it punishment. They punish me for doing good stuff and they reward me for doing bad stuff.
Right.
And it's all an attempt to change me into something that I don't want to be.
Yeah. See,
So
when I read the Bible, my sister's voice is telling me, David, you're actually reading that stuff. Look what you're going through. You're a TI, for God's sake. You think God cares about you? And I just keep reading, and then it'll just keep antagonizing me. David, you really think you're worthy of God? If you're worthy of God, why is he letting you go through this? Just constant interrogation. I don't know why they've used my sister's voice to do that, but if I want to
they
hear
know it
my
affects
sister's
you.
voice, all I got to do is open the Bible and start reading it.
That they know it affects you. And, everything in the system I've noticed is specifically designed for the individual. My stuff with the eating thing. It's specifically designed for me. For some reason, Eat Up pisses me off. I don't know why, but it sends me into a rage almost. But I've really worked on not getting angry because I don't want them to record that in me.
So so dealing with all this, what's your goal going forward? Or do you not want to say it because, well, but they know anyway, but
Yeah, they know everything.
I
So
mean, what's your goal to cope with this and how are you going to go about dealing with this, you know? Because you're on leave, you got to go back to work eventually. And
yeah, so
do you have a plan or anything?
the plan right now is to try to see if I have a brain injury. Um, Supposedly, Dr. Lynn Burr, the guy you had problems with, he says that people who go through this have some form of brain injury, and if that's true, then I'll get compensation.
Right.
Um, but you know what that does for me? Gives me some money, but I'm no longer functioning. You know, I loved my job. I still like. I love working there. It's like a family. We have parties. I just missed out on a pizza party. It freaking sucks. But I know if I was there the entire time I'm there, I'd just be hearing B2K. When they want me to, they've sensitized me to their words. So, like, if we're talking and the V2K happens, I will instantly start listening to the V2K. It's totally sensitized in me now. Um,
Right. And real
there's some,
TIs are, I've experienced this too. You know, I've been homeless with, I was homeless and I got that $1,400 stimulus check and I'm a TI. It does no good when you're blacklisted and you're a target individual. You could have $1 million and be miserable, you know? So money don't compensate nothing really. And like you said, it don't do nothing.
there's a reason that they don't choose rich people though, because if I had money, you damn well better believe I'd be fighting this. I would take this to the highest levels of government. I would go directly to the FBI director himself and be like, "Hey, man, whatever list you got me on, take me the fuck off." Excuse my language. But I don't have any money. I'm just a
Well,
nobody.
some people they do target with money. I mean, I know a doctor. Matter of fact, he's a friend of mine. I hadn't heard from him in a while. He's a millionaire, and he was in Nevada. But he was a Muslim, and he moved to Dubai trying to get away from this. And they were targeting him and his family. He's still going through it heavily. I
Wow,
don't know if it was because he was a Muslim, that's why they targeted him, and he was rich and had money. But yeah, this dude's got, he said, David, I got all kinds of money and I'm just not happy. He said, they're targeting me, they're targeting my wife. He showed me this blood clot they pulled out of his son's leg. Oh, well, I got pictures of that on my phone.
that's that blood clot stuff. That dude, the onion head Andrew guy you had on, um, he has a bunch of videos about stuff like that. That's part of the dirty board, the infection or whatever it is, nanotechnology,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Um, Supposedly, uh, during the the
Hmm.
when the everybody got the jab, supposedly that was part
Can't
of
say
it.
that. I gotta edit that out
Oh,
now.
you can't say that.
For some reason, they flag any video anybody says that in mine. I don't know why. Other people say it and get away with it, but I can't. But not, but yeah, just do that.
Okay. Well, when people got that, um, supposedly that was part of it. It was nanotechnology that they're putting in people. I noticed that everything got worse after I got mine, and I don't know. That could be another mind game. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's a
And if you watch my video, I did a good video. Let me see what the name of it was. Oh yeah, documented case of the it's scary. When I was doing the video, it scared the crap out of me when I was reading it. It's called the documented case of targeting from the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
And it talks about the Paul, I forgot his name, but anyway, he was in the UFO community, and it talks about how they targeted him. This is actual documented case of targeting. He had a handler and everything. NSA was moved in across the street. They convinced him that he was helping them and all that. Anyway, you have to watch it. So, but anyway, what they said was, uh, they were targeting these people that were big in the UFO community, and because it's all deep black projects in my opinion. But anyway, so they were actually targeting them and having them spread misinformation in the UFO community. And they said 95% of information when they were running that little psyops on these people, they got these people to spread 95% disinformation in the UFO community. So that's scary. There's no telling how many rabbit holes we might be going down that might not even be real. That is scary.
You know, UFO abductions, stuff like that. There's
Black
no doubt
projects.
there's no doubt in my mind that they're very real to the people.
Oh yeah, they are, but they're black projects.
But this is very real to me too, what
Yeah.
I'm going through. And even though there's no physical person, you know how many times I've said, "Hey, let's just fight to the death," or something like that. Just come out, let me see you, and never, it never happens. And they know that if they're actually tangible, then there's a chance. There can't be any chance, you know. And this is lifelong. Supposedly, when you're targeted, it's for the rest of your life,
Yep.
which is like, dude, just the thought of having to go through this for the rest of my life. And the fact that this has been going on since the 60s, the Frey effect has been well documented for a long time. You can look it up on Wikipedia. Frey effect is a very real thing, and it's where V2K comes from. And people just treat it like it's sci-fi, like it's not real. It can't possibly be real. It's like, yeah, it 100% is real. What happens if every single thing in pop culture has been caused by these people? What happens if every single thing, Jeffrey Dahmer, all the serial killers you've ever heard of? You remember there was like a large burst of serial killers in the 80s and 90s,
Could all
like
been
70s,
experiments.
80s, and 90s. All of them heard voices. All of them. All of them. Like, you're telling me they're all schizophrenic? Every single one?
And then David Koresh, before he started the Branch Davidians, he had this encounter with God and then heard God, and God told him to do all this. Yeah, and I heard that was all a CIA experiment.
Very well could be. And you see what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
They went in there and burned them alive and then tried to say it was them who did it.
Yep. We got
You
about
know,
3 minutes. Is there anything
okay.
else you want to say?
I would just say that what I'm going through right now, what we're all going through, um, there's no doubt in my mind there's going to be an end to it. I had when I was in a band, I was in a band called Mohawk Mary. I was a singer. I had this guitarist, and he was a unnaturally wise individual. He used to say, "Daniel, everything works out. It may not work out the way you want it to or when you want it to, but it always works out." And I've taken that to heart. This is going to work out. And eventually, there's no doubt in my mind, just like those MK Ultra people from back in the day who ended up getting compensation. There was only a few of them, but they got compensation.
I thought,
And
wasn't that in Canada?
what's that?
The people in Canada got compensation. Was there people in America that got compensation?
Yeah, there was a few. And
Oh,
the people from, the ones who didn't get compensation were the ones from Edgewood Arsenal. The ones where they were doing the military drug testing on soldiers. That was, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it was pretty
uh-uh.
bad. But they didn't get any compensation, and almost all those guys committed suicide. They were giving people thousands of hits of LSD. They were testing CS gas on them. They were, ZX, the Agent Buzz, which you probably never heard of. Um, Agent Buzz is a chemical that alters your state for 48 hours, and it makes you do erratic things and
Wow.
makes your mind change. but it's a very dangerous. That's also where they tested carbogen for the first time, and that's a carbon monoxide and oxygen, and just the right amount to where you think you're suffocating, but you're not.
I often wondered if Pink Floyd was here in V2K. Because the band outed him, but really he was the one that made Pink Floyd. Roger Waters ended up being the singer, but Pink Floyd was really the one who made that band, and they kicked him out when he turned schizophrenic, supposedly.
It's very possible, man. I know that the guy from the Beach Boys, he says that he hears voices and they get worse at night, which I don't know if you've noticed, but it always gets worse at night.
Oh yeah,
I've
and I
started.
noticed when Holly goes to work, it gets really bad on me too.
Yeah, when you're isolated.
Yeah,
Yeah, because then all you have is you and your thoughts and the B2K.
no,
So yeah, man, it's gonna work out. It's just might not work out the way we want. This Trump thing, I believe that not at all. Just if he was gonna do something like that, he would have did it his first term. Um, the fact that none of this is on the grid, why would he even say that? Because he probably doesn't even know it. If he does know it exists, then he wants to use it for his own gains. He doesn't want to. Why would you give up? Why would you give up a sword? Whenever you're in a war, because
right,
that's what America is. If you've noticed, everything is based on war in America. Everything, the war on drugs, the war on homelessness, the war on everything. So if we're all in that mindset, why would he give up a weapon? He would never give up a weapon. That's power. Why would he
right.
give up power? So, God bless
Well,
all you guys. Thanks a lot for having me on, man.
no problem, and we keep in touch. In like a few months from now, we might do another follow up if you want,
Yeah, definitely.
because I know you're going through heavy targeting, man. So you're probably going to have some more to tell in a few more months.
Yeah.
I hope not, but you never know. I mean, I hope you learn. I mean, I don't know. So, I think eventually you can learn how to. Well, you said your V2K basically slowed down, didn't it?
It's subliminal now. I know they're still
Okay.
there because the
So,
tinnitus is still there.
intrusive thoughts, basically now.
Yeah, the
Right.
tinnitus is still there.
Right.
I can still hear the ringing. That
Have you
means it's not
tried the
over.
hand fan music?
I did. They started punishing me for doing that.
Oh, well,
Binaural beat.
I'm gonna stop the recording, and I really appreciate you coming, and we can say our goodbyes when I stop the recording.